Another day, another quality player traded for a bag of chips. This time it is John Collins. John Collins was traded to the Utah Jazz for Rudy Gay and a second round pick. The new CBA is really having an impact across the board on countless teams as they have to now readjust and basically sell guys that they slightly overpaid for or heavily overpaid for, depending on your perspective. They have to basically salary dump these contracts because they need to stay within a certain parameter. And so you're going to see a lot more of this as we move forward into this season and every season going forward. As long as guys have guys that are heavily paid, that maybe the team needs to retweak, remove, add a different piece, or it's just not working and they're kind of stuck in this purgatory. There's going to be a lot of shuffling of the deck, so to speak, for countless teams. Utah managed to get a guy in John Collins who is very solid, and I actually think can get back to the guy he was earlier in his career. I just think Atlanta just became a mess, a little all over the place. I think this was just a marriage that was due for a breakup, and I think he'll get a real opportunity. But the reason I'm bringing this up and the reason I'm even talking about this is because, once again, the Lakers did not make a move for a guy that we just saw get traded for peanuts. And it's not even so much John Collins. John Collins would have been cool if the Lakers got him, especially at the price in which he went for. But the reality is, one, the Lakers wouldn't have been able to get him for that price because Atlanta also got a trade exception because they basically absorbed John Collins, Utah did, into their salary because they have to reach a cap floor. So it would have been a completely different trade. That's something I've seen a lot of Laker fans why didn't the Lakers make a deal like that? Well, because it wasn't that simple for a team like the Lakers. The Lakers would have had to match salaries, but they could have, right? They could have done Malik Beasley and Mo Bamba and, a second round pick and got John Collins. But even then at that point, I don't think the fit really made sense, right? Because you have Rui Hachimura, LeBron James, who both could play the power forward spot. If the Lakers do get another center, then Anthony Davis could play the power forward spot. Depending on what type of center that is, they may even be able to play the power forward spot, depending on how it shapes up. And then you still have guys like Jared Vanderbilt. The Lakers are plentiful when it comes to the power forward spot. But regardless, it's the idea, it's the principle of teams are selling off all of these pieces. And the Lakers are continuing to remain patient, which is good to an extent, right? But there's a lot of just frustrations I see amongst Lakers Nation of people just why couldn't we get Kristaps Porzingis? Why couldn't we get, Chris Paul? Why couldn't we get a Bradley Beal? Things along those lines. And now, again, I don't think any of those guys necessarily change the landscape for the Lakers and could potentially hurt them more than help them, not in the sense of the player, right? I think Bradley Beal would have been a solid fit on the Lakers. I think he would have helped a lot, more so than on the Phoenix Suns, but his salary was a big issue. Yes, the Lakers could have kept pretty much all of their role guys, but now that's your team for the next several years, right? And is that going to be good enough year? Maybe it's good enough this year. Maybe the Lakers win a championship, which then at that point you could argue, okay, well, still won a chip over it, but how does it look year 2, year 3, year 4, so on and so forth, as the Lakers kind of are stuck in this limbo. So all of those things play a factor. And again, there's going to be other options, other opportunities. There's several other teams that may start selling off guys. The Chicago Bulls, right? Chicago Bulls very well might start unloading guys. It looks like they're shopping Zach LaVine. If Zach LaVine gets traded, then my guess is they start selling off everybody. And it's a house party and they're just going to rebuild, start fresh. Lonzo Ball is expected to miss this season per the Chicago Bulls. They came out and said that themselves. All of those things, I think, really play a factor going in. And so when you look at a situation like that, right, maybe you could get an Alex Caruso, a DeMar DeRozan, and an Andre Drummond. I don't mind the patience on two fronts. One, is there anything really out there that makes sense, right? And again, the Lakers tax is a real thing. So it sucks that Kristaps Porzingis went to the Boston Celtics for basically Marcus Smart. But in reality, would that have been the same thing for the Lakers? Could the Lakers have worked out a deal to get Kristaps Porzingis for pennies on a dollar? Or would Washington have wanted more, right? Same thing with Bradley Beal. one, did Bradley Beal even want to come to the Lakers? Because he had a no trade clause, so that could have been a big factor. But let's say he did. Say he was interested in it. Is the Lakers' price the same price as the Phoenix Suns' price? Right? Because at the end of the day, no team wants to be that team that wins the Lakers another championship. Right? People were already crucifying Danny Ainge for the trade in which he made with the Lakers that led the Lakers to the Western Conference Finals. Right? If they if they ended up winning the NBA championship this year, Danny Ainge would have gotten so crucified. Right? People would have been going after him. All the Laker fans, we'd be rejoicing him, right? We'd be like, this guy, that's our dude, Danny Ainge, right? But the majority, the rest of the league and the rest of the fan base, they would have gone after him, right, for that. So with that, there's so many factors that go into play when the Lakers are trying to make deals. And again, you don't want to sell the farm for something that you're unsure or could have long-term implications. If Rob Pelinka doesn't find a deal that makes sense, then he's better off waiting. It's a very long offseason. And even if we don't do anything at the offseason, like let's say we just re-sign everybody, bring everybody back. Let's say we sign a couple new free agents and we're off to the races. We're going to be a good team, if not a great team, and we'll be a playoff team. I'm not worried about us making the playoffs unless something, knock on wood, catastrophic happens. So we should be a playoff team. And then once we get to the trade deadline, what ends up happening from there, right? To some of these other teams that we don't foresee. Again, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to be on the trade block that wouldn't have been on the trade block otherwise. Like if this new CBA didn't take effect, you're going to see a lot of guys that are going to get traded that teams wouldn't have traded prior because they didn't need to. And it's like, well, yeah, this guy's a little overpaid, but he's really good and he helps our roster, right? Like he's a part of us winning. But now it's like, okay, well, we're probably not going to win the championship. We're the 7th seed and, he's the kind of only overpaid, hefty contract that maybe we can unload and now kind of retool next season, right? And maybe now we can get to that contention level. That's something that could end up happening, right? Everybody's favorite Kyrie Irving, right? Like, what if Dallas and Kyrie turn out to be a total disaster and Dallas needs to get off of Kyrie's contract and they just need to get out of it and they made a mistake? Let's say they did give him a max and they messed up and it's just not working, right? Does Kyrie become available at the trade deadline? All of these things could be real things that Rob Pelinka, I think, is right for being patient. And I get the frustrations. I get the, like, oh, man, you see this guy and then that guy, and you're just like, man, that guy would really help. Man, that guy would be great on the Lakers. Like, especially like Kristaps Porzingis, I think he would have been perfect, right? Him and Anthony Davis as your front court would have been great, right? But is his price tag worth going into the second cap apron for? How much do we have to sign Rui and Reeves? There's so much in this jumbled mess that could really have an impact on the Lakers, not only this season, but the foreseeable future, right? Because if you go into that second cap apron, you can't do the buyout market. Like, what if you're not good enough to win a championship, but you're like a piece away? And it's like, okay, well, good. Well, we have the buyout market in which we could get that piece, right? Think of like Markieff Morris, stuff like that, where it's like, man, he was a real contributor. He helped a lot. He actually filled the need that we had. But now you can't do that. Now you can't get that guy. So now you're hoping that maybe the chips fall in your favor in order for you to be able to win that chip. It's just there's so many factors now, and the new CBA just changes everything. It changes the landscape entirely, and it makes things so difficult. But there's going to continue to be opportunities as we progress, and I trust that Rob will be patient and wait for that one that comes along, right? Maybe it is Kyrie. Maybe it is Trae Young at some point. Maybe it is, maybe it's not even that. Maybe Buddy Hield and Miles Turner at some point get available. Again, I'm not saying any of these things will happen, but you never know what tomorrow's disgruntled star or rotation guy or, team that just goes, all right, we need to get out of this contract. We need to get out of these guys, right? Like, we need to blow this up. We need to shake this up. That is something that could really happen. Like, even Atlanta, like, what does Atlanta start doing? Does Atlanta start selling off pieces, start selling off the farm, or trying to just unload guys outside of John Collins? Maybe the Lakers could snag a guy or two that could really help. I'm not even talking about Trae Young, right? What if you could get like a Hunter or something like that for a bag of peanuts? Like, you never know what's going to happen. And I trust Rob Pelinka. I trust that he's going to do what's best for this team, what's best for this organization. And I trust that he's going to stay patient until he finds that proper deal. It's easy for us fans to get frustrated and get impatient, right? Because we've had this luxury of the Lakers year in and year out just being the Lakers, right? Competing and contending for NBA championships and nothing. There's no in between. We have to be a contending team. And Rob Pelinka knows that. He's said this on numerous occasions. Right? Again, this is a roster that was just in the Western Conference Finals, and they basically were strung together with duct tape and gum. And now they're going to have a full training camp, full offseason, full preseason, full regular season to kind of figure it out. Even guys like D'Angelo Russell, right? Like, yeah, he disappeared in the Denver series, but does that not happen if he had a whole year with the Lakers to where he has a better understanding, he has a better structure of his role, and he has ways of impacting the game beyond his scoring? There were so many times where D'Angelo Russell would turn the ball over on a pass, but it wasn't even him just making a careless pass or him making a pass that was just a bad pass. It was just not having that chemistry. It was, I thought you were going to be here, but you were actually going over there. So I threw it over here thinking that's where you were going to go, but you ended up going over there. Again, yes, sometimes it's just miscommunication. It happens. But a lot of that, too, is just understanding your spots, understanding the offensive schemes, understanding players' habits, right? He doesn't like to kick out. He likes to cut to the basket. Or, his shooting pocket is here, not here. Or he likes the ball on this side, not this side, right? All of those things play a role, especially as a point guard. So, yes, maybe D'Angelo Russell disappears offensively, but maybe he's better playmaking-wise, which then contributes to more offense, right? Like, it's just all these things play a role, right? Does Rui, because now he's more comfortable and he's locked in the Lakers long-term, does his playoff success translate to the regular season? And can he take it up a notch? Max Christie, does Max Christie become the next Austin Reeves and year two really takes that leap? And now he becomes a quality rotation guy. Does Lewis become a ready player now, which many believe he is? Shafino, there's so many things that we need to take into account that could happen to where it's okay to be patient right now, right? Like, yes, it does suck to see all these guys that maybe we could have gotten for a bag of peanuts, but it's also fit. It's also, is this guy really worth the contract? Is this guy really worth the salary? What are our other options? Should we just be patient? And we haven't even really hit free agency, right? We're not actually in free agency yet. It's right around the corner. Be here Friday, but a lot could happen. Again, the Lakers could already have deals lined up, ready to go, and they're going to announce it, or the news will break at some time this week. You could be watching this video tomorrow and news is just broken or something like that, right? Depending on when you're watching this. So we got to remain patient. Rob Pelinka, I trust him to get the job done. He's proven time and time again that he can find these gems, these deals, that he can remain patient, that he's a good negotiator. For a whole year we heard the Lakers are screwed, they're stuck, nobody wants Russ. Rob Pelinka's never going to find a deal without him. Even the media, everybody was like, Rob Pelinka's going to have to give up 2 first-round picks just to unload Russell Westbrook's contract. No team is taking Russell Westbrook's contract unless you include at least 2 firsts. So the Lakers aren't going to be able to make a trade because you're going to need to give up first just to unload him, and then you're going to need to give up more first for these guys, and blah, 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 blah. Guess what? They were all wrong. Rob Pelinka was able to turn Russ into quality rotation guys that we were able to kind of put around the guys we already had and make the Western Conference Finals. It sucks how it ended. It would have been nice to win an NBA championship, but we're in the right direction. We're heading in the right direction. We're due north, and we're heading that way. And, I think Rob Pelinka will make the right choices. So we just got to remain patient. That's all. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel about this whole thing where, all these new guys, all these kind of, real quality rotation guys or stars keep getting traded for bags of peanuts? Do you think, like, yeah, the Lakers should have gotten anybody specific or threw their name into a hat? Do you trust that Rob will find something? Do you want to remain patient? Do you want to just run it back? How do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments.